Hi, my name is Emily Strauss, and today I will be talking about the well-known sculptor Magdalena Abakanowicz. Magdalena was born on June 30th, 1930, to a noble and wealthy family in Poland. In the early years of her life, the Nazi regime rose to power, and they began their occupation of her homeland when she was just 9 years old. Magdalena attended the Academy of Fine Arts in northern Poland from 1950 to 1954, where she studied socialist realism, which was the accepted art form of the time. While studying at the university, Magdalena took many textile design classes, which proved influential in her later works. As a young artist, Magdalena did not have a tremendous amount of space or materials available to her for her work. Despite this, she created huge three-dimensional sculptures. To get around her lack of space and material, the majority of her work is made of burlap sacks. Magdalena simply unwove the burlap sacks and used them to create her sculptures, so that they could then be folded and stored away. This was her way of taking something that was oppressive and limiting and making it work for her situation. Having grown up during the Holocaust, Magdalena experienced the horror of war. Because of this, her works reflect the dehumanization that took place during the 20th century. One life-altering experience that changed Magdalena's life occurred at a very young age. While at home with her mother, a Russian soldier entered her house and shot her mother's arms off right in front of her eyes. This dreadful experience helped shape two major themes of Magdalena's artwork: dignity and courage. In 1985, Magdalena created one of her most famous works, entitled Androgyny 3. This sculpture is made of burlap, resin, wood, nails, and string, and can be viewed in the Metropolitan Museum of Art located in New York. Since 1974, a common feature in Magdalena's works are fragments of humans that do not have skulls or heads. These works are commonly made of textiles and fibers. This technique represents the dehumanization that took place during the 20th century, and Magdalena's reaction to it and interpretation of it. The hard fiber surface of this piece is sculpted to represent the Earth's rough surface, and therefore shows the bare effect war had on humans. The utter simplicity of the figure shows how each person affected by the Holocaust was stripped of an individuality and degraded completely. Instead of each having an identity unique to themselves, they were now nothing more than a number, not a real human. From Webster's dictionary, the word androgyny means partly male and partly female in appearance, of indeterminate sex. The victims of the Holocaust were so dehumanized that they didn't even have their gender, let alone a sense of identity. These figures were sculpted with no waist or genitalia to show how each victim was stripped down completely. The leader of the Nazi regime, Adolf Hitler, had a dream. His dream was of a Germany free of Jews and returned to its traditional ways. Beginning in 1933, the Nazi regime brought radical social, economic, and communal change to the German Jewish population. In the coming years, the situation only worsened as the Jews were forced to wear the Star of David on their chest at all times and were forced to flee the land to escape persecution. In November of 1938, Kristallnacht took place, where Jewish businesses and homes were destroyed. Following these events, all Jews were taken from their homes and brought to concentration camps. There, they worked under the most horrid conditions imaginable. As a result of the Holocaust, 6 million Jews were killed. The events of the Holocaust impacted Magdalena so greatly that her artwork depicts its toll on the victims. Contrastingly to many other works done by Magdalena, Androgyny 3 does not have legs. It is seated on long wooden logs to perhaps fill for legs lost in the war. This stylistic feature relates back to memories of Magdalena's. This relates to her time spent helping in the hospital during the war and the traumatic shooting of her mother's arms that she witnessed. Throughout her work, Magdalena speaks on human experience, and this piece was made to represent the brutality of war and the terrible suffering of humans that took place. Another famous work of Magdalena's is her 1990 to 1994 sculpture entitled Four Seated Figures. This burlap, resin, and iron rod sculpture can be viewed at the National Museum of Women in the Arts located in Washington, D.C. These four faceless, limbless, and anonymous features sit in silent protest, dignified by their suffering. The body image shown on these figures is one of terrible physical endurance and mental distress. Just by taking a glance at this sculpture, a sense of despair is felt. This work, similarly to Androgyny 3, reflects Magdalena's direct experience with war. Each figure that makes up this sculpture was created separately to show individuality and personality. Also, she purposely made the figures genderless and without having a particular race. She commented on this choice in style by saying, "They are naked, exposed, and vulnerable, just as we all were." With a distinctive texture, the four seated figures are made to represent humans stripped of their skin, revealing muscles and arteries suggestive of the nervous system. This characteristic shows how utterly bare and dehumanizing World War II was on all people. Today, Magdalena is 85 years old and continues her passion for sculpting. She influences numerous sculptors every day and will continue to far into the future. She has won many acclaimed awards, including the Leonardo da Vinci World Award of Arts in Norway in 1999. From the wise words of Magdalena Abakanowicz, art will remain the most astonishing activity of mankind, born out of struggle between wisdom and madness, between dream and reality in our mind.